You're listening to Aviation Marketing Hangar Flying, the community for the best sales and marketing professionals in the aviation industry. You can't learn to fly just from a book. You learn from other pilots who know the tools, the skills, and the territory. Your hosts, John and Paula Williams, are your sales and marketing test pilots. They take the risks for you and share strategies, relevant examples, hacks, and how-tos. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes so you won't miss a thing.
Welcome to Aviation Hangar Flying, episode number 38. Today we're talking about competing for attention on the web. We've got a three-part series starting with today's episode, What Doesn't Work.
and following it with what does.
Exactly. So I'm Paula Williams.
And I'm John Williams.
And we are ABCI, and ABCI's mission is
to help all you ladies and gents out there sell more stuff in the aviation world.
Exactly. And the web is a big part of that, and to that end, if you'd like to join in the conversation, we'd be happy to talk with you on the web. Please use hashtag #AvGeekMarketing. That's AV Geek Marketing, and we promise we will reply to every tweet or comment that we can find. All right, so to start with, why are websites important?
Well, there's a number of reasons if you think about it.
Right. I mean, when we started getting into this, we thought we were going to be the first and only digital marketing company, solely digital marketing company in the aviation industry. As it turned out, that didn't work out so well because aviation at the time wasn't ready for it. This was, the 2006-07 era. And at this point, even, we found that solely online advertising, especially in the aviation industry, doesn't work as well as a combination. But websites are still incredibly important. Aren't they, John?
Absolutely. It's one of the least expensive ways. Well, I'm not sure that's actually true anymore, but it's less expensive than a whole number of other things on how to get some advertising out in front of people.
Exactly. So it's a lot less expensive than the paper directory ads that people used to use, and a lot more global than paper directory ads. In fact, many organizations that used to publish a member directory like NBAA, they don't do that anymore. They don't publish a paper ad or a paper directory. They just have the online directory on their website that nobody ever looks at.
Well, but it gives them more control, too.
Right, that's true. It can be updated more often. It's less expensive. There's lots of reasons that people have stopped doing a lot of those paper directories that people used to depend on in the industry, right? Mm-hmm. And there's still things like controller and other things that are mainly paper-based, but even they depend really heavily on the web these days because, those things need to be updated all the time.
Yes, they do.
All right. Also, 79% of buyers will research you online before they agree to meet with you, even if they got a mailer, meaning a postcard or something else. So even if you're using direct mail as your means of advertising, people are going to look that up and see what they can find out about your company on the web. So even if your website isn't your primary means of advertising, it's still really important.
Yes.
Right. Okay. And then the other thing is that your website is the only online media that you control completely, right?
No joke. Everybody else has got their own rules and terms of service, and they could go away, but your website's there as long as you're willing to pay for it.
Exactly. You can always find a new host for your website, but you control that real estate. It's like owning versus leasing the building that you do business in, right?
And not only that, you don't like any of the hosts out there, buy a computer and get some assistance and do it yourself.
I wouldn't recommend that.
Me neither, but you could do it.
But you could do it. The point is that it's something that you own and you control. And if you host any other type of online material on Facebook, then Facebook controls it, right?
That's right.
Controller, then controller controls it.
Right.
Literally. What other ads that they put next to your materials, what context they provide, what formatting you're allowed to do, all of that stuff is really up to that third party. And the more you control about your own business, the better, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Okay, so because you have to have a website, you might as well make it as effective as possible. Do we agree on that?
Sure.
Okay. And by effective, what I mean is that it should be bringing you qualified leads. And that's really what it boils down to. It's not really about how much traffic you get. It's not really about any of the numbers we're going to talk about. You know, what it really boils down to is bringing you qualified leads. That's the end goal. Would we agree on that?
Right, but you back that up and it has to be traffic, but it needs to be specific
Qualified.
traffic.
Right.
Qualified traffic.
Exactly. Okay, so we're going to go in the Wayback Machine.
Is that right?
There really is a Wayback Machine. On the web, it's at web.archive.org, and you can actually go into the Wayback Machine and you can put in any website you like, and it will have different dates that they had archived that website. And this is our oldest website, actually my oldest website. I think this was when we first barely even knew each other, when I put this together. And this was Ravenworks Originals. This was the very first website that I put together just as I was learning HTML and getting a clue.
We actually met at a client site that both of our companies had us at, and they threw us together into a project together, and they made me the project lead on this thing. And just by chance, the day before, she'd say, "Look at this, see what I did on the web?"
Mm-hmm.
So now I have 5 people on my team to put together this project, and none of them, save her, had done any work like that on the web. So I said, "You're it."
Right. So, and it started kind of as a lark. You know, I'd heard.
I thought it was a raven.
Oh, it is a raven, exactly. You know, I'd heard a lot about, you know, how online advertising was important, and I was in marketing and wanted to kind of learn this and get to know it. So I put together this website. Wasn't really sure where that was going or what we were doing with it. Just wanted to explore some of the possibilities. So, you know, what you're seeing here, Ravenworks Originals, is a site that we really didn't know, or I really didn't know what I was going to do with it. I just wanted to see if I could get something on the web. And
you did.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is 1998, January of 1998. And you can see we were just getting to the point where we could do graphics on the web and do some animated graphics and other things. So we kind of overdid that.
A little bit of interesting note, side note possibly.
Mm-hmm.
At the point in time in which she did this, there were only, 3 million total websites on the web?
Right, we're going to get to that in just a minute, but...
never mind.
That's
Don't want to
okay.
steal your thunder.
That's okay. No, but seriously, things worked differently back then. And, you know, if you have an older website, the reason that we're going through this history lesson really is to explain some of the things that worked then that don't work now, and why that's the case, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so January 1998, we had not done anything except slap this website on the internet with no advertising, no search engine optimization, no nothing. Just had a little bit of content on it that was not even really very focused. It wasn't focused on a particular line of business. It wasn't focused on art, you know, which was part of what that was about. It wasn't focused on business ethics, which is something that I was studying. And it wasn't, you know, on anything in particular. It just was kind of a little bit of everything. This mishmash of stuff. But you can see we were getting about 800, somewhere in the neighborhood of a few less than 800 user sessions per day, having done nothing.
Yeah, right.
So, you know, that was kind of insane. And we kind of got this crazy idea that we were really good at this.
Not lucky.
Right, exactly. Which at the time we were. And we started doing some web work. We started doing websites for KODJ radio in Salt Lake City. Dickie and Angel Shannon hired us to do some trivia quizzes for oldies music. All kinds of cool stuff that we were just kind of having fun and exploring. And we didn't have to do anything like search engine optimization. We also started working for a company that did advertising novelties, and did all kinds of stuff, and all we had to do was slap pages up on the internet, and we would get this kind of traffic. Crazy, huh?
Yep.
Here's why it worked, right? In 1998, there were only 3 million and change websites on the internet, right? But then in subsequent years, that doubled and tripled and quadrupled and got completely crazy to the point where it's very, very close to 1 billion websites today. I don't know if it's actually past 1 billion yet.
I don't know, but that's the reason they went to IPv6.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you a lot more internet protocol or IP addresses.
Exactly. So it's kind of a completely different world where you're competing in a world of 3,000 in the entire internet versus 3 million in the entire internet versus 1 billion in the entire internet or more. So you're literally looking at a needle in a haystack kind of a scenario where there are so many sites being launched every single day on any topic you can even imagine. And, no matter how niche-y your expertise, so, if you do aviation software, there are probably hundreds, maybe thousands of websites about that. If you do aviation maintenance software, there are maybe hundreds about that. If you do aviation maintenance software that is specific to one particular type of maintenance, there's probably several sites that you're competing against, and you really want to be in the top 10 in order to be found. So whatever niche you have, there's probably hundreds that you're competing against.
It's kind of interesting in how you make that needle in a big haystack shine.
Exactly. So we need a magnet, right?
Dang big one.
Dang big one, right. Okay, so how are you going to stand out? How are you actually going to get attention when you are such a small thing in such a big stack of things, right? So we're going to talk about a couple of examples that did it wrong, okay?
Yes.
All right. First one, this is an aviation software company. We met them in 2009, right when they were really unhappy with marketing people. Sometimes this happens when you work in a profession. A friend of ours does, a friend of mine does my hair, and he ends up fixing a lot of bad haircuts, right? We do marketing, so we end up fixing a lot of bad marketing. So it's the same thing. Whatever profession you're in, it's very likely that you end up fixing bad haircuts, whatever the bad haircut is of your profession. So the bad haircut that came to us was an aviation software company that had spent $250,000. That's $250,000.
Exactly.
On a beautiful website design. And it was beautiful. I mean, I have to give them that. It was visually stunning. They had really gorgeous video. They had a very nice catalog on their website. It was beautiful. But nobody was seeing it. There were less than 100 visitors per week, and most of them were foreign.
So suppose you spent $250,000 on an airplane without a motor in it.
Mm-hmm.
You would not be happy.
No, you would not be happy. And they made 0 sales that were attributable to the website. So this is a problem.
You think?
Her thought had been, if we make a beautiful enough, our way of standing out as the needle in the haystack is to make something that is more gorgeous than everything else, than every other needle in the haystack. But you know what? Nobody even knew that it was gorgeous because
That's because
they
didn't know it was there.
Right. So you can spend an awful lot of money on site design, and that has absolutely no bearing on how many people see it. It's like having the Mona Lisa in somebody's closet somewhere in the world that nobody's ever going to see. It doesn't matter how beautiful or how famous or how fabulous it is. What matters is where it is and how many people are actually going to appreciate it, right?
And that was 7 or 8 years ago, so $250,000 then would be more than that now, significantly more than that.
Exactly. So our job, with this website obviously was not to change anything about the design, but certainly to change the number of people that saw it. So
Qualified people that saw it.
Qualified people that saw it. So that was a pretty clear example that, a good design isn't going to help you stand out in a crowded marketplace, okay? Example number 2. 2015. This is an aviation training organization that shall remain nameless. Okay. And basically, they hired a marketing firm that had great credentials, that had worked with Textron and Continental and American Airlines. A really big firm that did beautiful work. And, very credible, very beautiful branding and so on. And we're going to show you the actuals of what happens here. I mean, the nice thing about the web is that you can see anything you want to see. Pretty much everything is public information, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So, little after July 2013, they switched from ABCI to a Madison Avenue firm that also will remain nameless, and rebranded and redesigned their website. And we happen to know some folks that worked there. And so between about August of 2013 through, let's see, that's probably July, August, September, October, November of 2015, they had almost continually declining web traffic, except when they purchased an ad. If you're looking at graphs of web traffic and things like that, you can see there's kind of the wavy lines and then there's kind of the straight up and down lines. Mm-hmm. And the wavy lines usually mean organic search results, meaning, you've put some great materials on your website so people start to discover it and start to share it with other people. And, there's kind of a gradual motion of up and down on that website traffic. When you purchase an ad, you have almost a straight up line. And then when you stop paying for that ad, you have almost a straight down line. So you may start getting, hundreds or thousands of people visiting your website every day. But then as soon as you stop paying for that traffic, it just drops off instantly.
And you're paying a number of dollars per each click, whether they come stay on your website or whether they buy anything or not.
Right, exactly. So you can see, they may have made their website look better. One could make that argument. Certainly they made them a different color scheme and a different branding, and the colors on their website match the colors of the furniture in their lobby and other fabulous things that, are good for branding. I'm not trying to denigrate that in any way, but it certainly did not help the traffic to their website or the number of leads that were coming in from the website. So, they purchased an ad. You can see that in about, that's about November of 2016, and then stopped in about February of 2016. And you can see they were able to get more traffic to their website, but I doubt they got any leads from that either.
Yeah, so we don't know about that segment of time. The other segment between the red bars, we do know.
Right, exactly. So, if you're listening to this podcast, just to describe what's happened, we've got a really significant amount of traffic in August of 2013 that kind of gradually tapers off and then has some minor bubbles of purchased ads and other kinds of things through about July of 2015, so about a year later. And then, they have a purchased ad that makes a really big splash and, almost a pretty precipitous drop off after that. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what did we learn from this? Basically, you can hire a very prestigious branding firm. You can do a great web design. You can do a lot of things with your website that will make it look better, make it better branding, other kinds of things that still don't lead to more leads from our website, right?
Imagine if you were a brand new company like Tesla and you put up a bunch of billboards in Kenya, mm-hmm. but you manufacture in the United States.
And sell in the United
States. Pretty much that's what's happened here.
Exactly. It's kind of nuts. So the neat thing is we can learn from other people's examples and we can see what works and what doesn't. And, we agreed at the beginning of this podcast that the main goal of your website is to obtain new leads, right?
Qualified leads.
Qualified leads, exactly. So that is not doing very well. So, the moral of the story, I suppose, is that it's not a beauty contest. I mean, obviously, you want to have an attractive website, but it's not really about looks, and it's not really about design. It really is about the number of qualified leads that you get to your website. Okay, so when we look at the ways that you get people to your website, there are lots of ways to do that. There's search engine optimization, which we're going to be talking about in the next couple of podcasts. There's social media. There's magazine advertisements. There's trade show appearances. There's postcards and mailers. There's referrals from current customers and other kinds of things. But it isn't just a field of dreams kind of a situation where if you build it, they will come. Remember the movie?
Oh, yeah.
Right. They won't come because they don't know it's there. Okay? There's no magic here. You really do need to put this in places where people are going to come across it and notice it, especially people that are most likely to buy your product.
Yeah, so when they search on specific items, you want those specific items to be optimized in your website.
Exactly. And there's lots of ways to do that, including, buying advertising, doing social media, doing a lot of different things. Search engine optimization really is one of the most cost-effective ways to do this, but it doesn't happen automatically like it did for us in 1998.
And it's
Right.
not magic either.
No, and it's not magic. There's no voodoo here. There is nothing of great consequence that you can't do, but we're going to recommend that you do some things yourself and that you outsource some other things because it's just gotten so complicated and so competitive.
Well, and Google, who is the primary purveyor of how this works, changes their stuff sometimes daily, at least weekly, and the big changes come monthly, quarterly, semi-annually. And if you don't have a staff to keep up with that, you just can't do it yourself.
Right. So in addition to getting people to your website, the other thing that's really important in this effort of this goal of acquiring qualified leads from your website is that you have to have some way for people to interact with your website and give you their contact information. Because, you may see more traffic on your website, but you don't know who they are, and you don't have any way of following up with them or putting them into your sales process and continuing on with that unless you have some way of capturing their information. And that's sometimes called inbound marketing, that's sometimes called magnetic marketing, whatever you call that. We call it a great call to action or some kind of an offer in order to capture their information. All right. So competing for attention on the web, key points that we want you to remember today. You have to have a website anyway, so it might as well be functional, right?
Well, I suppose you could say they're all functional, but you certainly want them to draw people in.
Right. So functional, we agreed, means attracting new leads and capturing their contact information and then moving them along the sales process, right?
Of course, because if you don't capture contact information, it doesn't matter if they're qualified or not.
Exactly. So just having a website isn't enough anymore. You have to do those two activities. One, drive people to it, and two, capture people's information once they get there, right?
I'm not sure drive is the right way, but you certainly have to lure them along.
Okay. Maybe not drive, but at least pull people into it. Maybe that's a nicer way of putting it. Things that worked in 1998 or 2009 or even 2014 don't work anymore.
And that's because Google keeps changing stuff.
Exactly.
That and the fact that there is now double the number of websites that there was back then. Or treble, depending on the year.
Exactly. From 3 million to 1 billion. That's a little more than double.
Right, but it depends on the year.
Oh yeah, absolutely. A more attractive design isn't going to help you.
No.
It is not a beauty contest. So you may want to have a more attractive design. You may have a really hideous website that may be selling things left, right, and center for you. That's great. You may decide you want it to look better, but that is not the primary objective here. The primary objective is to sell more stuff.
Exactly.
Right? Okay. Cool. All right. So make sure you download our SEO tip sheet from abci1.com/SEO. That's Alpha Bravo Charlie India, #1.com/SEO Sierra Echo Oscar. Thank you. I almost forgot.
Tongue-tied on the microphone.
Exactly. Right. And a couple of things that you may also want to see. If you've already have enough people visiting your website, but you're not capturing their contact information, and you aren't really sure how to do that, you might want to look at episode 12 about list building, capturing leads from your website. We have some ways of doing that. If you need more qualified people to visit your website, then you're going to want to look at episode number 39, 40, and 41 on website traffic, which are coming soon, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So today the main point that we wanted you to understand is that having a better website design, or having a website at all, is no guarantee of making it work.
No, not at all.
And hiring, an expensive firm to redesign your website and make it beautiful may not be the best way to get it to perform its function, which we agree is
Sell stuff.
to attract qualified customers and move them along the sales process. Exactly, right? Okay, so go sell more stuff. America needs the business, right?
Our good buddy Zig Ziglar.
Exactly. And subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Play. And please do leave us a rating.
Thanks for joining us for Aviation Marketing Hangar Flying, the best place to learn what really works in sales and marketing in the aviation industry. Remember to subscribe on iTunes and leave a rating.
You could.